tell you a little bit about myself. I've been doing this for 35 years, real estate lawyer, so I've seen everything in the market. I've written books on real estate, I've been on television, on all the news shows as a real estate expert. I've written articles on real estate in the Toronto Star and Real Estate Magazine, and I'm a senior partner with my firm RealEstateLawyers.ca. So I'll tell you a little bit about these are the books that I've published. Everything a landlord needs to know, everything a buyer needs to know, and I'll share some of that with you. The main difference with our firm is that we go to the client's home to sign the papers. So it doesn't matter where you are, Meadowvale, Mississauga, London, we go to your home to sign the papers, and it's included in our fees, and our fees are extremely competitive. So you never have to miss work to close real estate here. And we do deals everywhere. We have 35 offices, and we also have a trust account at every bank. Have any of you closed a real estate deal yourself? Yeah? So you know how difficult it is on the day of closing. You've got to run to the bank, get a draft, and run to the lawyer's office. We don't allow that. Instead, we have a trust account at every bank. So wherever you bank, TD, CIBC, you just go to the bank, transfer the money right online from the branch to our account. You could do it the day or two before closing, no stress, and you don't have to see us with any bank. So we make it very easy. And the minute the deal closes, you're notified by the clerk, and you pick up your key, and it's done. So that's how we do the deal. Now, I thought I'd share with you some lessons just on, you're here to buy from a builder. So I review hundreds of these builder contracts, and they're all the same. So it doesn't matter what you sign with the builder. They're all going to say the same thing. And so Peter's giving you a little bit of a background about this. But the key thing that I tell people is right there. What's the reputation of this builder? Have they built anything before? Do they finish? That's what you have to check. You know, everybody promises, but you have to check on other developments this builder has done, and you see that they get them done on time, and they're not going to start putting a shovel in the ground unless they have the money to get it done. So that's what you have to do. That's the number one thing you have to do, is check out the reputation. And then when you're signing an agreement, there's always things I look for. So one of the things are, what are the additional charges? Now, I checked this agreement, and they put a cap on the levies, which is the number one additional charge at $3,000, which is extremely fair. I've seen condominiums for $8,000 to $10,000 just on the levy. So if you've looked at these, you know. So I've checked this. It's fair. Parking, locker, if you've got it. The right of assignment. So here they're allowing an assignment, and with a fee of $2,500, which is also fair. So if you want to change your mind just before registration, you can do that. I've already checked that. It's $2,500. There'll be no pets. I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing for most people who lifestyle, etc. And one of the things in a regular condominium, you beg for the right to rent it on occupancy, because many builders, when they build a condo, they want you to move in. They don't give you the right to rent. Here, not only do they give it to you, but they give you a rental guarantee. So this is something most people are looking for as an investor. So instead of having to worry about tenants, they do all the work, they find the tenants, and they give you the guarantee. So I can't tell you, when you're investing, it's hard. It's almost like having your own property manager. And for most investors, you have to accumulate maybe 5 or 6 properties before you can afford a property manager. Here, you got it. It's already built in. So this is an advantage of this versus other developments. Now, when you have a condominium, there's 2 closings. There's an occupancy closing, and then there's a final. Occupancy means the building is ready to occupy, but it's not finished, which means they can't register, and so you don't have to pay, but they want you to move in, or they want your tenants to move in at that point. And so you're supposed to pay a fee, which is called a rental fee, but your rental fee is going to be offset by the guarantee. So you see, for most people who buy a condominium, they have to pay a rent to the builder when the day they move in, and the rent is made up of 3 things. So if you paid $400,000 for this unit and you paid $50,000 as a deposit, You'd have to pay interest on $350 at 3.14%. So that might be $800 or $900 a month. That's part of your rent. Then you have to pay the maintenance fee, and they'll tell you what the maintenance fee is for your first year as soon as you buy your unit, and then your share of property taxes. So you're going to be paying the builder about $1,200 or $1,300. So if you moved in, let's say you decide to move in, you don't want to rent it. You move in, you pay the rent to the builder for 8 months. But with the rental guarantee, it'll offset this. So you won't be paying rent, and the rental guarantee will make up for that. So that's a big advantage. You'll already have your tenant in. Okay. How many of you have difficulties understanding the HST rebate?
Everybody.
What it means. So I'm going to try to explain to you the HST rebate. A lot of people are confused. So let's say you're buying a new condo or a new home, and they tell you the price could be this unit, $400,000, HST included. So what that means in English is the real price is $378,000. If you add HST of 13%, it's $49,000. So the real price is not $400,000, it's $427,000. However, the buyer is entitled to something called the HST rebate if they're moving into the unit. So if you're moving in, what happens is, in this example, the rebate is $27,000. So if you move in, you transfer your $27,000 to the builder. So that now the builder gets it, and that brings your price back down to $400,000. So you don't get the rebate, it's just given to the builder. But you see, if you rent your unit and don't move in, you actually owe $427,000 on closing. So you owe that money to the builder. So if your unit is rented under the rental guarantee, you're going to have to pay the equivalent of the HST rebate to the builder on closing. But then you're entitled to a rebate under the rental HST program, which means you're going to have to fill out some paperwork on closing, send it to CRA, and then they'll give you the $27,000 back about 30 days later. So you see, you're out of pocket the HST for about 30 days. So you'll have to understand that if you're going to take the rental guarantee, on the final closing, you're going to have to pay some extra HST, fill out some forms, wait 30 days and get the HST back. Because that's what happens with all investors when they buy a condo to rent. To pay some HST extra, but to get it back. And I have a guy who's the HST rebate specialist, and I recommend every client to him because he's the fastest at getting the rebate. And you have to have a lease. You will have a lease because your tenant, if it's a guarantee, they'll start already on occupancy, and so you'll be able to apply for the rebate as soon as it's closed. So let's say you're buying a resale. Let's say some of you decide you want to do a different investment, you want to do a resale condominium. This is what I look at. I look at status certificates all the time. So that's my first question. Are units selling? Because if units are selling in the building and closing, it means that other lawyers and banks are looking at this building and they're satisfied. So that's the first question you ask. Are units selling? And the corporation number. Every condominium has a corporation number. So there's 2,800 condominiums in Toronto. Condominiums were started in 1967. So if you see condominium number 2,700, that's the building number. It means it's about 1 year old. If you see condominium number 2,000, it's about 10 to 12 years old. If you see number 300, you got a 40-year-old. So I can tell just by the numbers how old the building is. That's important because you know that the older a building is, the more you're going to have to do repairs. You should find out who is the condominium property manager. Again, you'll check the proper locker and pets. Now, most condominiums are passing rules that they're trying to stop cannabis from being smoked once it becomes legal. And are there any lawsuits or special assessments? So is somebody suing the corporation? Kitech plumbing is a big deal. Any condominium between 1995 and 2007 might have Kitech. It usually decreases the value of the units by about $5,000. And we're always looking at the reserve fund. So these are the things that a lawyer should be looking at when you're buying a resale condominium. If you're buying a resale home, I always say walk the neighborhood and talk to the neighbors. That's the best way you're going to find out about a house. Ask the neighbors if there have been any major repairs in the house, because nobody else is going to tell you. You're going to make the deal conditional on a home inspection and financing, and you're going to put in clauses about murders or suicides in the property. That bothers people. Find out about whether the furnace, air conditioner, or hot water tank are rented. And if you're buying with an investment, a basement apartment, then you got to make sure the basement apartment is legal. So those are the main things to look at when you're buying a resale. Now here, I don't really have to give you too many tips about finding tenants because you've got a property manager to do that for you. But if you are buying your own property or you decide I'm going to rent it out myself, here are some of the tips I give for landlords. The main one is if you're advertising, you say the words, "We do background and credit checks." And that way, any applicant knows you're going to check them out. This will eliminate half the bad tenants if you just put that in any ad. You want to get the tenant to always pay for utilities because the utility companies do their own credit checks. So if they can pass the utility company credit check, they're going to pass yours. Pets is always a problem because the tenant can write a lease that says no pets and they can still bring a pet, except in a building that you're buying. Because if in the building it says no pets, the tenant is not going to be able to do that, but normally they are. And one of the ways I say to check qualified tenants is Facebook. If they have a dog, there'll be a picture of them with the dog on Facebook. So you just get your kid to help you qualify a tenant and interview tenants where they live. That's always a good, you see how a tenant treats somebody else's property. That's how I would do that. And then one sort of warning I give, if you're turning down a tenant, you have to be very careful that you don't say anything that will be a violation of human rights, that you're not renting because of their race, religion, color. And it's very hard when you're saying no to somebody. So I give you the answers right here. We prefer another tenant, or we're still reviewing applications. Never get in trouble. Preferred somebody else, not discriminating against anybody. That's how you say it. And so it's very hard to be a landlord. You have to do so many things, and that's why, you know, when I saw this rental guarantee and there's a company that does this, that does differentiate this from a lot of other developments. And, you know, if they're going to build it, it will fill. They're not going to build it. You see all these student rentals in Kitchener, they build them similar and they manage it, and they rent them out to students, and they do the same kind of thing because there's always going to be students. And so, did that help a little bit to explain? And so you've got my card. You've got my handout, so you've got all my contact information. If you ever have any questions, you know, I'd be delighted to help